why is today's training important? Right. So I have recently been bombarded with a lot of questions from some of my Chinese students right after the new policies has been updated. So questions like, do I still need to put enough funds in my bank? Right? Are my bank statement no longer required? A lot of students ask me these questions. And then some students ask me, do I still need to send out my original documents? And has Tier 4 visa application become ever so easy? And then, is my country lower risk? So if this is how you react when you, whenever time you were asked about these questions, now you're in the right place. So we're going to talk about, we're going to go through all these, confused questions one by one. And then so hopefully after today's presentation, you'll be able to consult your students better. So what is lower risk really, right? The key word is lower risk. It does not mean like there's no risk at all, like you're completely safe, you're secured, your visa application are going to be so straightforward, but you are at the lower risk country category. What does it mean? So from July 6th, 2018, this year, there has been numbers of countries are considered to be low risk by the UK Home Office for Tier 4 purpose. Okay, so these, this is basically an updated list of lower countries considered by the UK Home Office right now. And these are, I'm just going to go through very, very quickly, right? Argentina, Australia, Bahrain, Barbados, Botswana, Brunei, Cambodia, Canada, Chile, China. Finally, the Dominican Republic, Indonesia, Japan, Kuwait, Macau, SAR, Malaysia, the Maldives, Mexico, New Zealand, Qatar, Serbia, Singapore, South Korea, Trinidad and Tobago, Thailand, UAE. But unfortunately, the country of Oman that used to be considered as a low-risk country are no longer considered low risk. And students from Omani students now have to submit all financial and qualification evidences with their applications now. Okay, so you have to be aware of that if you are dealing with students from Oman. Okay, so they are no longer considered as low risk anymore. Well, the Q&A session is at the end of the presentation, yeah. All right. I don't know if I can't hear. I can't hear. You can hear the question actually. So if you can unmute yourself and then ask the question again, I can then answer you during the session. Okay. Any questions are welcome. I don't have a secretary, to help me type the questions though, to help me type the answers though. All right, shall I just continue while you're trying to? Oh yeah, sure. Who's the? All right, go ahead, please. Okay. That's right, man. All right, we're going to come to that later on. It's actually part of my training. We're going to come to that later on. Yeah, that's a very good question, Mohammed. Thanks for challenging me. I like people challenge me during the training. All right, any more questions? If you don't have any questions, I'm going to... Oh, you sent your question. Where? Okay, let me have a look. So Mina is asking me, what do you mean by risk? Why does risk involve? Okay. So I think the terminology here is rather interesting. Okay, so the UK Home Office really considers some of the countries are risky because, for example, China used to be one of the risk countries considered as a high risk because probably or politically, back in the old time, China was considered as a communist country, things like that. And then, UK being a capitalist country, that's my, understanding about the risk. Okay. And also to do with the rejection rates of your visa applications as well. Okay. So so we have Abdul Kader is asking, well, India is not included in the list, so not relevant for us. We still have to follow the same procedure considering financials and academic. Very, very good question. Yes, you will have to follow the same procedure. Okay. So if there is any use of my presentation for the Indian team today, is that you have to follow the old procedures. Okay. If there's something that you must take away from the presentation today, I think that's rather useful. All right. Right, Nagesh. The previous question was actually asked by Abdul, not sorry, Nagesh, not Abdul. Okay, we're just gonna move on. All right. So students for national from a low risk country. So the first advantage is that it means that under the differentiation arrangement, remember the key word here is arrangement, not treatment, right? Because differentiation treatment is a whole lot different issue. So under the differentiation arrangement, a student from a lower risk country does not need to submit following documents. Now, first of all, is your evidence of finances. For example, your bank statement, certificate of, if you're dealing with the Chinese students, most of the time they will give you a certificate of deposit as their financial statement. And then your academic qualifications, okay? So now for a student, for an applicant who's from a low-risk country, you only need to submit following document. One is your passport, okay? And your photographs, okay? So it's pretty much like similar to in the UK, if you are applying for a provisional driving license, the documents are pretty simplified, okay? Now, you're gonna tell this to your clients, right? Your clients walk into your office, say, I'm a Chinese student, I'm a student from one of those lower risk countries, okay? What are the documents I'm going to submit now? Because my parents are thinking about, put, lots of money in the bank and then, prepare the bank statement, so like that. You're gonna tell them, no, you don't need all those. You don't need to submit all those, right? Because you need only to submit your passport and photographs now. And then he's going to be jumping. He's going to be like, really excited. Oh, wow. The application has become ever so easy right now. But you're going to have to tell them, don't be jumping too early. The reason for that is, as a low-risk national, students must still ensure two things. Okay, so first of all, you have to be in possession of all the original documents that were previously required to submit. Okay, meaning even though you don't have to submit them, you have to keep them in hand. You have to keep them, in the safe place. You have to have them. Okay, and these documents, okay, not only you have to have all those documents that you previously submit to following the old procedures for Tier 4. These documents must also meet all Tier 4 visa requirements. Okay, so if you have, like, for example, the 28 days, rule for bank statements, stuff like that, you have to follow that, even though chances are you're not going to be asked by the UK Home Office to present those documents while you're making your application. You have to make sure you have those documents, and those documents must meet the requirements. Okay? So in essence, there are no real changes with what documents a Tier 4 applicant needs to documents, financial statement, your education qualifications, but you have to prepare them. The reason is the UKVI can request these documents at any time while your application is being processed. Failure to provide documents which meets the requirement upon request could lead to a visa refusal. Things getting serious now. So the UKVI would not require you to submit perhaps, financial statement and your qualifications while you're making the initial applications, while you're sending your documents to the UK Visa Center or embassy or whatever. However, at the later stage of your Tier 4 application process, they might be requesting you, okay? They might do a randomly check or they might spot something that's unusual, something fishy, you know, from one of your students' submitted documents, and then they will raise, you know, some red flags. Say, hey, wait a minute, I've seen something, you know, funny with this, you know, student's documents. I need to, you know, check further. So they might request some of your clients to submit at the later stage of the application process the document that they used to submit as the a national from the high-risk country, meaning, you know, your financial statement, as well as, you know, perhaps your education qualifications, and even like TB test, you know. So in that case, your students might ask you, right? You're saying, okay, at first I don't need to, you know, prepare those, submit those documents, you know, financial statement and my education evidences. But now, you know, now you're saying the UKVI might check at later stage of those documents. So in that case, should I just make things easy? You know, voluntarily, what do? You know, you submit all the qualification finances at first anyway, okay? Whether they're going to ask me or not, because some of your clients might do that. You know, like my some of my Chinese students, they take things very seriously. They want to make things, you know, make sure that everything's are on the safer side. Okay, they want to make sure, you know, things are going to be secured. All right, so they're like, hey, you're telling me there, I don't, the UK Home Office are going to check those documents anyway. Should I just, you know, submit them all together? Our recommendation is, we recommend that you don't include evidence. Why is that? If you choose to submit evidence, you must ensure that it meets the requirements precisely, because failure to meet these requirements is likely to result in a visa refusal. How do I explain this? All right, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to just like make it very simple. So we're saying that financial evidences and also your education qualifications are not required to be submitted during the initial stage of your application, okay? But some of your clients might decide to, you know, submit those documents anyway, just to make sure things are on the safe side, okay? And you need to, you know, tell them, okay, if you want to voluntarily, okay, because UKVI aren't asking those documents to be submitted, but if you want to voluntarily present those documents to the UKVI, you have to make sure those documents are meeting the requirements of the Tier 4, because if anything's you know, not meeting the requirement from one of those documents that you weren't supposed to submit anyway in the first place, your visa is going to be refused. Okay, so this is very important that you need to make sure that your clients don't do. All right, so if one student is selected, okay, because UKVI at later stage might randomly check, you know, one or two applications from you know, they will then notify the clients, the applicants, to submit, you know, further documents. How they're going to be notified? The applicant will be notified by UKVI normally via email. Okay, so they will then send you an email to the applicant to notify them you need to submit, you know, further documents. Once notified, the applicant will have 5 working days to submit the requested documents. Okay, and failure of meeting the time limit would most likely result in the application being refused. So ways of submission are notified and detailed in the email from UKVI. So that your clients might be asking you, if the UKVI requests me, you know, to submit further documents, how I'm going to submit. Okay, you just simply telling them you will be notified with an email, and within the email, a detailed instructions of how to submit these documents will be given. Okay, so that is our training today about the updated Tier 4 policies. Got any questions, guys? Now is a question in time. Any guys?